Good morning. Welcome again to the GDFL Footy Show, coming to you on a very cold Saturday morning. And boy, hasn't it been cold this week. It certainly has. And we had a magnificent round of footy last weekend with the Tommy Tigers. They're back in town. They knocked off Corio by a bare margin of just 4 points. The Bannockburn Tigers, too good for the Belmont Lions. And I can tell you now, the big fella was out there at the Winter Resort, and it was a very, very exciting game with the scores level with 5 minutes to go. But the poor Belmont Lions couldn't get over the top of the Bannockburn Tigers. Aaron Eddy booted 4 goals for the Bannockburn Tigers. Great effort by Aaron. Inverleigh absolutely destroyed the poor old Geelong West Cheetahs with Johnny Ansell kicking 11 goals. And hasn't he really come into great form in the last couple of weeks? The East Geelong Eagles, well, they were too good for Anarchy. And I guess Anarchy's finding out what it's like when they play against the big guns after being big improvers this year. Werribee Centrals, too good for North Geelong. Held the North Geelong Magpies off. Desperate last quarter, the Magpies couldn't get back in town on top of them. Paul Briggy once again kicking 4 goals. He leads the goal kicking. He's on 36 for the season 2011 at this stage. And the 94.7 match of the round, the Belpost Hill Panthers, absolutely too good for Winchelsea Blues with Matt Jovanovic kicking 5 goals. Hello, I'm Dick Philpott. And once again, I have assembled one of the biggest names and brains in local football to eradicate, adjudicate, communicate, and definitely not procrastinate. Good morning to Dale Smith, the Bannockburn legend.
Thank you, Dick. Yeah, nice to be back here on a pretty cool Saturday morning. I'm just hoping things improve as the day wears on.
But, I certainly hope so, Dale. And of course, we've got a big game on tomorrow. We'll talk a bit more about that. Got a very special guest coming on the show in segment 2, so look out for that. Now, we do know that some strange things happened last weekend because it was Pink Day, and one of our cameramen went out to the Belmont Lions footy ground, the Winter Resort, and this is what they saw out there. A very strange event in... Have a look at this. What is that on the gate there? Have a look at him. He's collecting money for breast cancer. I hope he is anyway. He's not taking it home with him. Have a look at that. That's our producer, Brian Cogsy Coughlin, with a pink ribbon stuck over... Have a look at that. I usually tell him, Cogsy, no sideways shots, but that's okay. That is magnificent. Who's the bloke coming in the gate? Is that Father Christmas? Looks like he's coming to watch the magnificent clash out there at the... He doesn't look too flash about that, does he? Good on you, Cogsy. That was sensational. Well, yes, last week's game was the Belpost Hill Panthers, and they took on the Winchelsea Blues. We've got a very special interview coming up now with the coach of the Belpost Hill Football Club, Brett Gergich. He's Cal Lowther.
Obviously started a little bit slow, but got to your straps as the game wore on and end up really giving them a good belting.
Yeah, as I said just before to you, they're a pretty good team. Got some really good players, Charleston, Leake, and as I said, the ruckman, and some good forwards as well, and some big strong backs. So we knew we were in for a tight game. We thought on early. Obviously, they were on pretty good in the first quarter, and I think more probably credit to our guys the way our guys pressure around the ball and that sort of thing, and it probably got blown out a little bit at the end. I didn't even notice how much we won by, but I think it probably flattened us a bit in the end.
Obviously, Shane Tobin played a great game today, and Dave Holzbon as well. You've got a really good couple of set of small crumbing forwards now. Yeah,
they're handy. Like Toe's kicked a few goals, and it's good to be able to put Halsey forward, who can obviously give us a bit of speed down there because they're not really a quick team. So, and Tobes isn't really that quick either, but he's a pretty smart player and he gets to the right sort of spots. So yeah, pretty handy for us today.
Can you tell us a little bit about Chris Moore? Obviously, Brad Martin pulled out just before the start of the season, and Chris Morland's been stated as captain. Did you have any role in the choice of that, and how did it come about? And just talk a little bit about that for us.
Well, if it was up to me, it probably would have been Chris, definitely. But I put it to the players as well, and they had a bit of a vote. And I just wanted to get an idea what they were thinking, and they pretty much all voted for him as well. So it was pretty much a standout in the end. And obviously he's still a young bloke, and he's a really good leader. He's probably our best trainer. He's definitely our best trainer. He's either doing weights or he's running or he's training so hard. And he's off the track he's a really good leader, and on the track as well. So it was pretty much no other decision really in the end.
Yeah. And just finally on your game plan, you haven't seemed to change anything at all. You've sort of just replicated the same thing. Sides seem to struggle with the way that you just chip the ball around and find options inside 50. Does it stagger you that your game plan just continues to be so successful?
Yeah, I think people might read into a bit in our game plan so much. I think we try not to turn the footy over. So I suppose if that's a game plan, it's a game plan. But we're just big on not kicking into turnovers, basically. So yeah, the less we turn it over, and the more we keep it in our hands, obviously the better. So it seems to be working at the moment, but obviously we're going to get challenged during the year, and we may have to change it up and try something different. But we'll meet that when we get there.
Yeah. You're looking forward to playing a game on Sunday against Bannockburn next week?
Yeah, definitely. I heard it's going to be a pretty big day, a lot of people out there, and it might be a bit of a finals type atmosphere. So it'd be good for the boys to play in a big game and big crowd. And Bannockburn obviously a pretty good team too. So it's going to be a big challenge for us.
Welcome back, and a great interview there from Cal Lowther with Brett Gergich, the captain coach, or the coach of the Belpost Hill Panthers. A good interview indeed, Brett. Had a lot of very interesting things to say. We're going to put the ladder up on the screen now so that everyone can see exactly where their team stands after the last round. And of course, East Geelong and Belpost Hill are setting the yardstick at the moment. They're on 5 wins, both undefeated. That's going to be a magnificent clash when those two clubs get together later on the season. Werribee Central's Inverleigh and Bannockburn make up the final 5. Anarchy just knocking on the door just outside. North Geelong in a little bit of trouble there, but hopefully they can pick that up in the next couple of weeks. Tommy Tigers, Belmont Lions, Carrara, Winchelsea Blues, and unfortunately poor old Geelong West Cheetahs languishing at this stage without a win on the bottom of the ladder. Smithy, now, last week's game, Belpost Hill and Winchelsea, a bit of a boil over, mate.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit disappointing, Dick. We went out there, I expected to see Winchelsea take it up to them for a fair part of the game. I thought their run and carry through the middle might have been just as good, but Belpost still have started off where they left off last year. Look, they're very patient when they get the ball. They work it through the middle of the corridors. They chip it around until someone gets a little bit lazy, and then they just proceed to push the ball on their forward line. Jovanovic was good and strong up forward. I reckon he probably worries a bit too much about his full back at the moment. He seems to try to fend off and guard the space rather than just go to where the ball's going to land. But they've got a number of players that run through the middle, and I think it was just far too easy for them in the end.
Anyone going to beat Belpost Hill? They're obviously looking very strong, aren't they?
Look, Dick, if you're sitting back and looking at it now, you'd think that East Geelong and Belpost Hill will play off. I think the only smoky in this group here at the moment is Inverleigh. I really think that Werribee, while they're okay, are an ageing side. I don't know how they're going to go back on the bigger ground at St Albans, and I think Bannockburn's form's really too inconsistent to even consider them at this stage. So, and Anarchy's the other side. Got beaten on the weekend, but I think it's the top 3. Look, the thing is, I suppose Winchelsea lost their ruckman early in the game. They locked Warland, who is another key player, through their defence. He didn't come back into the contest. So they really lost 2 of their key players. Batterby was a ruckman. They threw McCormick into there, and I reckon he did a great job. I reckon he's got a bit of a future. He looked pretty good. And that Jace Reese, he played pretty well, but I think he's more of an outside player than an inside player. Look, there's a lot to be working on out there at Winchelsea, but Belpost still pretty good, Dick.
Okay, yeah, it'll certainly be a great game when Belpost Hill and East Geelong get together a little bit later on. We're going to take a break, pay some bills. We'll be coming back with a very special guest back after this.
Let's get into it all until the final.